For 10 years, I was the scaffolding that held Sterling Corp together, invisible but essential. My brother Derek and his glamorous wife Victoria were the face of the company, the ones who took the bows and cashed the oversized checks. While they charmed clients on golf courses and attended lavish galas, I was the one in the office until midnight, fixing their mistakes, writing their proposals, and building the empire they claimed as their own. My rival wasn't just a colleague, she was my sister-in-law, Victoria, a woman who wore my hard work like a designer dress. She partied while I performed. My death wasn't a physical one, but it was a death nonetheless. It came not with a bang, but with the quiet, soul-crushing finality of an HR-mandated email, a betrayal that bled me out, leaving an empty shell in the ergonomic chair I had worn down through years of loyal service. The email arrives at 3:17 p.m. on a Friday. My hands, which have just finished color-coding the final slides for the quarterly review Derek is supposed to present on Monday, begin to shake. It's a tremor that starts in my fingertips and radiates up my arms, a physical manifestation of a fault line cracking through the bedrock of my life. Subject, important update, regarding your role at Sterling Corp. The corporate jargon is a cowardly shield. Restructuring, synergies, difficult decisions. The words are meaningless, sterile. But the message is brutally clear. My position has been eliminated. Budget cuts. My breath catches in my throat. Budget cuts? I personally saved them over $1 million last quarter by renegotiating with our vendors, a project Derek had declared tedious and a waste of my time. I built the financial models that secured our last round of funding, the ones Derek presented as his own genius. A notification flashes on my second monitor, Instagram. It's a reflexive, stupid habit to have it open in a tab, a window into the world I'm supposedly working to afford. It's Victoria's story, a video actually. The sun is brilliant, glinting off a turquoise sea. Victoria, resplendent in a white bikini, raises a champagne flute to the camera. She's on a yacht, the kind with multiple levels and a crew in crisp uniforms. Laughter echoes, tinny through the laptop speakers. Derek is there, his arm draped lazily around her, a grin plastered on his face. The caption, written in a swirling, carefree font, reads, "Living my best life. #company retreat #blessed. The company retreat, the one I was too essential to attend." "We need you here, Maya," Derek had said, his voice oozing fake sincerity over the phone. "You're the only one I trust to keep the ship running while we're schmoozing the big fish. You know how it is." I did know. I knew my presence was required not to run the ship, but to build the damn thing, plank by plank, while they sailed on it. I knew that my exclusion wasn't an oversight, it was a strategy. They needed me in the office, isolated, so they could pull the trigger without having to look me in the eye. The metallic taste of blood fills my mouth. I've bitten down on the inside of my cheek, hard. The pain is a sharp, grounding counterpoint to the dizzying rage that's taking hold. 10 years, a decade of my life poured into this company. I sacrificed relationships, holidays, my own health. I was the first one in, the last one out. I've eaten more sad desk salads than I can count, all while Victoria was at boozy lunches, expensing $500 bottles of wine as client entertainment. The rage is a flash fire at first, hot and blinding. But then, as I toggle back and forth between the sterile termination email and the sun-drenched Instagram story, it begins to cool, it hardens. It crystallizes into something cold, sharp, and perfectly, terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a budget cut. This was an execution. They planned this, every detail. The timing, a Friday afternoon, so I'd have the weekend to stew in my own misery, unable to contact anyone. The humiliation firing me while publicly flaunting the rewards of my labor. The stolen promotion, the VP of operations role that had been dangled in front of me for months. The one I now realize was always meant for one of Derek's fraternity brothers. They didn't just fire me. They erased me. They wanted to break me. My eyes flick to the clock on my screen. 3:22 p.m. The email mentions a severance meeting. Of course, they'll need me to sign the papers, a non-disclosure agreement, a non-compete. They want to muzzle me to make sure I can't take my knowledge, my relationships, my worth anywhere else. The meeting is scheduled for Monday at 9 a.m. I have the weekend. No. I look at the clock again. It's not a weekend, it's a head start. The severance meeting isn't an endpoint, it's a deadline. From this moment until Monday at 9 a.m., I am still, technically, an employee with full access to the company's servers. The rage is gone now, replaced by an icy, exhilarating calm. They think they've won. They think they've cut out the heart of the company and that it will keep beating for them. They've forgotten one crucial thing. I'm not the heart. I'm the goddamn central nervous system. I know where every wire is, every secret is buried, every skeleton is hidden, and they've just given me exactly 17 hours and 38 minutes of unsupervised access. My fingers, no longer shaking, move to the keyboard. I close Instagram. I close the termination letter. I open a new encrypted email draft. The recipient is a name Derek and Victoria only know as a distant, powerful figure, the venture capitalist who'd been sniffing around our biggest client, a man they were desperate to impress but too arrogant to truly understand. To james.liu@liu-capital.com. Subject, opportunity. My name is Maya Chen. I'm the Director of Operations at Sterling Corp. Or at least I am for the next 17 hours. You and I need to talk. The email is a shot in the dark, a Hail Mary thrown from the ashes of my career. But I don't wait for a reply. Waiting is for victims. I'm done being a victim. My fingers fly across the keyboard, pulling up file directories, cross-referencing spreadsheets, downloading encrypted archives. For the last 6 months, a small, paranoid part of my brain had started a new project, a just-in-case file. It started when Victoria got a consultant to audit my department. A 24-year-old with a fashion blog who couldn't read a balance sheet. That's when the nagging suspicion that I wasn't just being overworked, but being undermined, took root. So I started documenting every inflated expense report Victoria filed, complete with geotagged social media posts proving she was at a spa in Bali, not a client meeting in Brussels. Every email from a client complaining about Derek's missed deadlines, followed by my email apologizing and attaching the work I'd stayed up all night to complete for him. I tracked the clients Derek was trying to poach for a new side venture he thought I knew nothing about, funneling Sterling Corp leads into a private LLC. I saved everything, organized it, and tucked it away in a password-protected corner of the server, a digital insurance policy. Now, it's time to cash it in. My phone buzzes, a restricted number. I answer on the first ring. This is Maya. Miss Chen, James Liu, you work fast. His voice is exactly as I imagined, calm, precise, with an undercurrent of amusement. He doesn't waste time on pleasantries. I appreciate that. I'm on a deadline, Mr. Liu. Interesting timing for you to reach out. I heard rumors about some restructuring at Sterling Corp. The corner of my mouth quirks up. Of course he did. A man like James Liu doesn't get to where he is by missing the rumbles of an impending corporate earthquake. He probably knew about my termination before I did. Then you know they just made their biggest mistake, I say, my voice steady. The icy calm is still there, a frozen lake in the center of my chest. I'm listening. This is it, the point of no return. I take a breath. For the past 10 years, I've been the operational architect of Sterling Corp. I built the systems, I nurtured the client relationships, and I cleaned up the messes. My brother and his wife were the brand. I was the business. They fired me this afternoon to make room for someone cheaper and less threatening, and they did it while my brother was posting pictures from a yacht. I saw the pictures, James says, and I can almost hear the smile in his voice. Tacky. Tacky. And a breach of fiduciary duty. He's on that yacht with the CEO of Omni Group, a client he's actively trying to poach for a new boutique agency he's setting up with Victoria. An agency he's been funding, in part, with fraudulent expense reports filed by his wife. There's a pause on the other end of the line. Not of shock, but of evaluation. He's processing, calculating. You have proof of this? I have a meticulously organized file containing 2 years' worth of expense reports, cross-referenced with travel records and social media posts. I have email chains, server logs, and a draft of their business plan I found in Derek's trash folder. He's not very good at covering his tracks. He always had me to do it for him. And the client list? He asks, his voice sharpening with interest. The real one, not the sanitized version they show investors. I know who the key relationships are with. not the C-suite execs Derek plays golf with, but the senior managers, the project leads, the people who actually make the decisions. The people who call my direct line when there's a problem because they know Derek won't answer his phone. Their loyalty isn't to Sterling Corp. It's to the person who solves their problems. It's to me. And you're prepared to walk away with them? I'm prepared to offer them a better, more stable, more competent alternative to the chaos that's about to engulf Sterling Corp when they realize the person holding everything together is gone. The severance meeting is at 9 a.m. on Monday. They're expecting a broken woman, ready to sign anything for a few months' pay. They want me to sign a non-compete that will sideline me for a year. By the time I walk into that conference room, I need to be untouchable. The client list, my documentation, everything of value needs to be off Sterling's servers and in my possession. You mentioned a consulting opportunity a few months ago, I say, pressing my advantage. When you were trying to get a meeting with our top account, TechCorp, you said you needed someone who understood the internal politics. I remember, James says. Derek Chen told me he was the only person who could make that introduction. He quoted me a finder's fee that was, to put it mildly, ambitious. I laugh, a short, sharp sound. Of course he did. He doesn't know the new head of procurement at TechCorp is my old college roommate. I can get you a meeting on Monday. But I'm not interested in a finder's fee, Mr. Liu. I'm interested in a partnership. Another calculated pause. I can almost hear the gears turning, the possibilities aligning in his mind. He's not just a venture capitalist, he's an opportunist. And I've just handed him the opportunity of a lifetime on a silver platter. My office, tomorrow, 10 a.m., he says finally. Bring your documentation. And Miss Chen? Yes. Come prepared to talk numbers. This sounds like it could be a very profitable venture. He hangs up. I lean back in my chair, the worn fabric groaning in protest. The icy calm begins to thaw, replaced by a surge of adrenaline so potent it makes my vision swim. I look around the office, at the gray cubicle walls, the framed photo of a smiling Derek and Victoria on my desk, a gift from a Christmas party I had to work through. For a decade, this place has been my cage, a comfortable, gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless. I worked and they partied. I built and they took. No more. I pull the photo from its frame, tear it in half, and drop it into the shredder. Then I turn back to my computer. I have a long night ahead of me and a new life to build. By 2 p.m. tomorrow, I won't just be gone. I'll be a ghost, and they won't even know they're being haunted yet. The lobby of Sterling Corp is a testament to my brother's taste, cold, ostentatious, and designed to intimidate. Gleaming white marble floors, a giant abstract metal sculpture that looks like a car crash, and a receptionist who seems to be surgically attached to her phone. It's Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. I'm 15 minutes early for my own execution. I've spent the entire weekend in a fugue state of caffeine and vengeance. My meeting with James Liu was a masterclass in efficiency. He didn't question a single document. He just absorbed the information, his eyes alight with the thrill of a predator spotting a fatal weakness in its prey. By the time I left his office, we had the framework of a new consulting firm, a line of credit, and a shared calendar for poaching our first client. Now all I have to do is survive this final meeting, refuse to sign the non-compete, and walk out of this marble mausoleum for the last time. As I approach the elevator bank, a familiar figure steps out from behind a ridiculously large potted plant. My brother. Derek looks rumpled. There are faint bags under his eyes, and his usually perfect hair is slightly askew. The yacht party must have been a rough one. Good. Maya, he says, his voice a low, conspiratorial whisper. He's trying to project an air of solemn concern, but it comes off as greasy. I was hoping I'd catch you. Can we talk for a second? He gestures towards a small, uncomfortable-looking leather bench, clearly intended more for aesthetics than for actual human use. I remain standing. We have a meeting in 15 minutes, Derek, with HR and legal. I think that's the appropriate venue for any work-related discussions. His jaw tightens. Look, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about how this all went down. It was a board decision, purely numbers. It wasn't personal. I stare at him, letting the silence hang in the air. I watch as a bead of sweat trickles down his temple. He's not used to being scrutinized, to having to justify himself. He's used to me nodding, smiling, and fixing it. Was it purely numbers when you put Victoria's spa treatments on the corporate card as software purchases? I ask, my voice quiet but carrying the weight of the files now saved on James Liu's secure server. Derek's eyes widen, almost imperceptibly. He glances around the empty lobby. I don't know what you're talking about. Or was it a board decision to use the company retreat to finalize your deal with Omni Group for your new agency? The one you're starting with the money you've been siphoning from this company for the last year? He pales. The carefully constructed facade of the concerned brother cracks, revealing the panicked, cornered man underneath. He takes a step closer, grabbing my arm. Maya, you need to be careful. You don't know what you're messing with. I pull my arm away, my gaze unwavering. No, Derek. For the first time in 10 years, I think you're the one who doesn't know who he's messing with. He shoves a folded piece of paper into my hand. It's a reference letter, he says, his voice strained. I wrote it myself, glowing. Says all the right things. You sign the non-compete, no fuss, and this is yours. You can walk into any job in the city. I don't have to look at it. I know what it is. It's a threat wrapped in a favor, a gag disguised as a gift. He's offering me a gilded cage to replace the one I just escaped. You always were too trusting, Maya, he says, a sneer twisting his lips. He thinks he's regained control. He thinks he's holding all the cards. Did you really think we'd let you just keep climbing the ladder? That VP role? Please. You're a great worker bee, sis. But you're not management material. Victoria, now she has the vision. The air conditioning hums, a low, constant drone against the expensive fabric of my blazer. I feel a chill that has nothing to do with the temperature. It's the chilling clarity of understanding the true depth of their betrayal. This wasn't a recent decision. They've been planning this for months, maybe years. They've been planning to push me out and steal my accounts, my work, my legacy, for Victoria's new boutique division. They saw me not as family, not as a partner, but as a ladder to be kicked away once they reached the top. A slow smile spreads across my face. It's not a happy smile. It's sharp. What's so funny? Derek asks, unnerved. I was just thinking about ladders, Derek, I say, my voice light. You always assumed you were at the top, and I was holding it steady for you. But I think you underestimated who was actually holding the ladder. He stares at me, confused. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I say, tucking the useless reference letter into my pocket, that you should check your client retention reports tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. The elevator dings. The doors slide open. Enjoy your meeting, Derek, I say, stepping inside. Give Victoria my best. As the doors close, I see the confusion on his face hardening into dawning horror. He's starting to realize that the worker bee might have a sting. He just has no idea how venomous it is. The hum of the elevator is a rising crescendo, carrying me up to the conference room where my old life will officially end and my new one will begin. They expect me to grovel. They expect me to break. They think they've won. They have no idea that the real game has just begun. The severance meeting is a blur of condescending sympathy and legal jargon. Derek is rattled, shooting me paranoid glances from across the polished mahogany table. Victoria, however, is the picture of triumph. She struts in 5 minutes late, wearing a pair of ridiculously expensive designer heels that click-clack on the marble floor like tiny victory drums. She doesn't even look at me, just gives a breezy wave to the HR drone and the company lawyer before settling into a chair and scrolling through her phone. To her, I am already gone, a ghost at a feast held in her honor. They slide the non-compete agreement across the table. It's even more restrictive than I imagined, a legal prison designed to keep me out of the industry for 2 years. They expect me to protest, to beg, to negotiate. I just push it back. I won't be signing this, I say calmly. The lawyer sputters. Derek looks like he's going to be sick. Victoria finally looks up from her phone, her brow furrowed in annoyance. Don't be difficult, Maya. We're being very generous. Generous? I laugh. You're firing me for budget cuts while you're wearing a car payment on your feet. You're offering me 3 months' pay to sign away 2 years of my career. That's not generosity. That's an insult. If you don't sign, you don't get the severance, the lawyer says, puffing out his chest. And you'll never get a reference from this company. I'll take my chances, I say, standing up. My work speaks for itself. So does yours, for that matter. Good luck with the quarterly review, Derek. The real one is on my hard drive, by the way. The one you're holding is the version I made for show. You might want to have a look at it before you present it to the board. I walk out, leaving a stunned silence in my wake. The click of my own sensible, affordable heels on the marble floor is the most satisfying sound I've ever heard. The next few weeks are a whirlwind. My new consultancy, launched with James Liu's backing, is more than just a consulting firm. It's a surgical strike vehicle. We start with TechCorp. My old roommate, now their head of procurement, is thrilled to hear from me. She'd been getting the runaround from Derek for months. I get James his meeting. Within a week, TechCorp terminates their multi-million-dollar contract with Sterling Corp, citing a lack of confidence in senior management. They sign with us the next day. One by one, I pick them off. The clients whose loyalty I earned while Derek and Victoria were taking credit. I don't badmouth my old company. I don't have to. I just offer them what Sterling Corp no longer can: stability, competence, and me. The news of the client exodus hits the financial blogs. Sterling Corp's stock, already shaky, begins to slide. Derek, I hear through the grapevine, is in a full-blown panic, blaming everyone but himself. But the real plan, the masterstroke, is something I don't even know about until a Tuesday afternoon in James Liu's gleaming downtown office. He slides a folder across his glass desk. It's not a client file. It's a stock portfolio. What's this? I ask. That, James says with a thin smile, is the reason I was so interested in your phone call. I open the folder. It's a list of shell corporations, investment groups, and private equity funds. And they've all been buying one thing: Sterling Corp stock. Small amounts at first, then larger blocks, all purchased quietly over the last 6 months, all below the threshold that would require public disclosure. I look up at him, my mind racing to connect the dots. You've been buying them out. I've been positioning for a hostile takeover, he corrects. Your call was the catalyst I needed, the proof of mismanagement, the client exodus you engineered. You've devalued them to the point where a majority stake is now easily within my grasp. The board is panicking. They're looking for a white knight, an outside investor to save them. He leans forward, his eyes gleaming. They have no idea the white knight is the one who's been funding the siege. It all clicks into place. James Liu wasn't just a random venture capitalist. He'd seen the rot in Sterling Corp long before I did. He saw an undervalued company with a solid foundation, a foundation I built, being run into the ground by two incompetent fools. He was just waiting for the right moment to make his move. The final block of shares will be acquired this Friday, he continues, at which point I will be the majority shareholder. And as the majority shareholder, my first order of business will be to call an emergency board meeting and install a new CEO. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle in the silent office. My heart is hammering against my ribs. This is bigger than I ever imagined. This isn't just about starting my own firm. This isn't just about revenge. This is about reclamation. A CEO with intimate knowledge of the company's operations, I say, my voice barely a whisper. A CEO who has the respect of the clients and the technical expertise to turn the company around. James Liu smiles. I can't think of anyone better for the job. You built it, Maya. It's only fitting that you should be the one to run it. I stare at the folder, at the intricate web of transactions that represents the silent, creeping takeover of my old life. In 6 weeks, I will not be a competitor to Sterling Corp. I will not be a consultant. I will be walking into that mahogany boardroom, the one I was so unceremoniously kicked out of, as the new majority owner. Victoria and Derek, my brilliant backstabbing brother and his visionary wife, will unknowingly be working for me. The company they stole will be mine. Every last marble tile, every abstract sculpture, every dollar of fraudulent expense. The shock gives way to a dizzying, terrifying sense of power. I accept James's partnership offer, not just as a consultant, but as the heir apparent to the Sterling Empire. My insider knowledge, my client relationships, they're not just assets for my new firm anymore. They are the keys to the kingdom. The game has changed. I'm not just playing for survival anymore, I'm playing for keeps. And I have never been more ready to win. The next few weeks are a masterclass in controlled demolition. Working with James, I accelerate the acquisition process using my intimate knowledge of Sterling Corp's weaknesses to our advantage. While Derek is frantically trying to stop the bleeding, issuing press releases full of corporate platitudes and empty promises, I'm quietly orchestrating the transfer of Sterling Corp's three biggest remaining accounts to my new consultancy. It's surprisingly easy. These are clients I've worked with for years, people I've pulled all-nighters for, people whose kids' birthdays I remember. When I call, they're relieved. They'd been hearing the rumors, feeling the instability. My offer of a seamless transition to a new firm where they'd still be working with me is a lifeline they're eager to grab. The final domino falls on a rainy Thursday. It's Sterling's oldest and most prestigious account, the one Derek inherited from our father. It's the crown jewel. I save it for last. The call takes 10 minutes. By the time I hang up, the transfer is in motion. The news will hit Derek's desk in the morning. I don't have to wait that long. My temporary office space is a small, glass-walled room in a co-working building, a far cry from the marble halls of Sterling Corp, but it's mine. I'm finalizing a proposal when the door to my office is thrown open with such force that it bangs against the wall. It's Victoria. She looks like a storm cloud poured into a designer dress. Her face is pale, her eyes blazing with a fury so intense it's almost impressive. Her voice when she speaks is shaking. "You!" she seethes, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You did this!" I lean back in my chair, taking a slow sip of my coffee. "You're going to have to be more specific, Victoria. I've done a lot of things lately." "Don't play dumb with me. The clients, Tech Corp, Omni Group, and now Argentum? They've been with this company for 20 years. You can't just steal our clients." I set my coffee mug down, the ceramic clicking softly on the desk. "I didn't steal anything, Victoria. I earned their loyalty. I earned it over 10 years of 18-hour days, of solving problems you and Derek created, of doing the actual work while you were posting selfies from your business lunches. Their loyalty is to competence, not to a logo. You should try it sometime." "This is corporate sabotage," she shrieks, her voice echoing in the small office. People in the co-working space are starting to stare. "This is business, Victoria," I say, my voice dropping to a low, dangerous calm. "Something you never bothered to learn while I was doing your job for you. You thought you could just throw me away like a piece of old hardware and everything would keep running smoothly. You forgot who wrote the code." She takes a step forward, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. "Derek will ruin you for this. We'll sue you into the ground. You signed a non-compete." "No, I didn't," I say with a smile. "I refused, remember? You were too busy on your phone to pay attention. As for being sued, I think you have bigger problems to worry about." I swivel my monitor around to face her. On the screen is a media player, paused on an audio file. The file name is HR_feedback, _D.Chen, _V.Sterling, _master.wav. "What is that?" she asks, her voice suddenly laced with uncertainty. "You know that anonymous feedback system the HR department set up last year?" I ask. "The one where employees could leave voice messages about their concerns?" You and Derek thought it was a brilliant way to pretend you cared about morale. You never knew who administered the system, did you? Who transcribed the messages, who flagged them for follow-up? It was me, Victoria. Her face drains of all color. "It turns out," I continue, "that when people think they're anonymous, they get very chatty. Especially when they're in their own office, forgetting the microphone is always on. I have hours of recordings, Victoria. Recordings of Derek on the phone with his lawyer, planning my termination. Recordings of him outlining his plan to poach Sterling clients for your new agency. And my personal favorite, a recording of you on speakerphone with your travel agent, booking a personal vacation to Monaco that you later expensed as a fact-finding mission on European market trends." I press play. Derek's voice fills the small office, arrogant and dismissive. "Just need to get her out. She's too embedded, knows too much. We'll call it a restructuring. She'll buy it. She always does." I stop the recording. Victoria looks like she's going to faint. This is illegal, she whispers, horrified. Is it? I tilt my head. I think you'll find that recording conversations in a company's own internal feedback system on company property is perfectly within my rights as the system administrator. Derek's lawyer will explain it to you. Assuming you can still afford him after all your clients have left. I stand up, walking around the desk to stand directly in front of her. For the first time, I'm not looking up at her. We're eye to eye. You have a board meeting next Friday, don't you? I say softly. An emergency meeting to discuss the company's restructuring. She just stares at me, speechless. You and Derek are going to walk into that room expecting to find a solution. You're going to be looking for a lifeline. I lean in closer. You have no idea that the person you're going to be begging to save you is me. I step back, gesturing to the open door. Now, if you don't mind, you're trespassing, and I have a company to prepare for. Victoria stumbles backward, her eyes wide with a terror that is far more satisfying than her anger ever was. The realization is dawning, the horrifying, impossible truth of what's about to happen. She turns and flees, her designer heels slipping on the polished concrete floor. I watch her go, then turn back to my desk. The war isn't over, but the final battle is set. Next Friday, the boardroom. They think they're walking into an emergency meeting. They're actually walking into my coronation. The mahogany boardroom at Sterling Corp is just as I remember it, opulent, suffocating, and cold. The air is thick with the expensive cologne of panicked men. The remaining board members, a collection of Derek's old money golfing buddies and investors who are now watching their money circle the drain, are arranged around the long, polished table. They look grim. Derek and Victoria are at the head of the table, a parody of a power couple. Derek's face is ashen, his hands trembling slightly as he shuffles papers he hasn't read. Victoria is trying to project an aura of icy calm, but her jaw is clenched so tightly, I'm surprised her teeth don't shatter. They've spent the last week in a tailspin, watching their company crumble, their allies desert them, and their future dissolve. They know something is coming, they just don't know what. The door opens, all heads turn. James Liu walks in, exuding an aura of calm, predatory power. And right beside him, matching him step for step, is me. I'm wearing a tailored navy blue dress that costs more than my first car. My hair is pulled back in a sleek, professional style. My expression is neutral, revealing nothing. I am no longer Maya the worker bee, Maya the fixer, Maya the victim. I am Maya Chen, the architect of their destruction. Victoria's face drains of every last trace of color. It's a beautiful sight. She looks at me, then at James, then back at me, the impossible equation clicking into place in her mind. Derek just stares, his mouth hanging open. He actually chokes on his coffee, a strangled, gurgling sound that is deeply, profoundly satisfying. James takes his place at the head of the table, opposite Derek. I remain standing, a silent, powerful presence at his side. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, James begins, his voice cutting through the tense silence. As of 9 a.m. this morning, my venture capital firm, Liu Capital, in conjunction with its partners, has acquired a 53% controlling interest in Sterling Corp. A wave of murmurs and shocked gasps ripples through the room. As the new majority shareholder, James continues, his eyes locking onto Derek, my first act is to restructure the leadership of this company. Effective immediately, the board is dissolved. New members will be appointed by the end of the week, and a new CEO will be taking the helm. He gestures to me. Allow me to introduce her. Maya Chen, our new chief executive officer, has some restructuring plans of her own. I step forward, my gaze sweeping across the stunned faces around the table, before finally landing on Victoria. This is impossible, she whispers, her voice a reedy thread. How did you— The same way I did everything else here, Victoria, I interrupt, my voice clear and strong, resonating with a power they've never heard from me before. By actually working. While you were planning parties, I was planning this. You can't just waltz in here and take over. Derek finally finds his voice, standing up so abruptly his chair scrapes against the floor. This is my company, my father's company. I'm not waltzing anywhere, Derek. I say calmly. I'm walking into the position I earned a decade ago, the position you were too incompetent and too insecure to give me. And as for your father, I think he'd be appalled to see what you've done to his legacy. This is revenge, Victoria accuses, her voice rising to a hysterical pitch. Don't flatter yourself, I say, a cold smile touching my lips. This isn't revenge, this is justice. It's also excellent business sense. You two were running this company into the ground. I'm simply saving a valuable asset from your mismanagement. I slide a sleek black tablet across the polished table. It stops directly in front of the lead board member, a portly man named Henderson who has always treated me like a piece of furniture. On the screen is the file I showed Victoria, that one containing all their dirty little secrets. On that tablet, I announced to the room, you will find detailed evidence of breach of fiduciary duty, corporate embezzlement, and conspiracy to defraud investors, all committed by Mr. and Mrs. Chen. You'll see Victoria's fraudulent expense reports, itemized and cross-referenced with her vacation photos. You'll see Derek's secret LLC, funded with company resources. You'll find the audio recordings of them plotting my termination and the theft of company clients. I let that sink in. The silence in the room is absolute, broken only by the sound of Henderson's shaky breathing as he scrolls through the evidence. Their termination packages will consist of a cardboard box for their personal belongings, I state, my voice devoid of emotion. Security will be happy to provide them. Their legal liability, however, is something you, the former board members, might want to discuss with your own lawyers given your oversight failures. I look back at my brother and his wife. The defiance has vanished, replaced by a raw, naked terror. They are utterly, comprehensively ruined, and they know it. This company, the one I built from behind the scenes, is finally mine, I say, my voice ringing with the finality of a judge's gavel. And I'm not here to save what's left of it. I'm here to make it stronger, more profitable, and more powerful than you could ever have imagined. I turn to James, who gives me a subtle, approving nod. The takeover is complete. The coup is successful. I'm not just the boss. I'm the owner. Now, I say, turning my attention to the stunned, silent room. Let's talk about the future. I'm already planning our next acquisition. My final words to Victoria are delivered not with anger, but with the cold, detached efficiency of a CEO making a purely logistical statement. As security guards, men whose names I know and whose families I've asked after for years wait patiently by the boardroom door, I look at the woman who had been my tormentor, my rival, and the ghost at every one of my lonely office dinners. She is no longer a glamorous icon of success. She is just a woman in an expensive dress, stripped of her power, her face a mask of disbelief and rage. Clean out your desk by 5, I say, my voice even. Security will escort you out. Any personal items left behind will be donated to charity. She opens her mouth, a retort or a threat forming on her lips, but no sound comes out. There's nothing left to say. She has lost. I have won. It's as simple and as brutal as that. Derek doesn't even try to speak. He just stares at the mahogany table, at the polished surface reflecting his own broken image. He is a ghost now, and I am the one who has finally come to life. 6 months later, I stand in my corner office. It's the same office Derek once occupied, but I've had it completely redesigned. The heavy, dark wood and intimidating furniture are gone, replaced by clean lines, modern art, and a wall of glass that overlooks the city. The abstract metal sculpture from the lobby has been sold for scrap. The morning light streams in, catching the golden letters on the new nameplate on my desk. Maya Chen, CEO. On my screen, a business news ticker scrolls by. I pause it on a headline. V-Style, lifestyle startup by former socialite Victoria Sterling, files for bankruptcy after failing to secure second-round funding. A small, grimly satisfied smile touches my lips. Victoria, stripped of Sterling Corp's resources and my talent, had tried to build something on her own. She had the vision, after all, but vision without execution is just a hallucination. Her boutique agency was a predictable failure, a flimsy structure built on a foundation of ego and Instagram filters, and I've heard through the grapevine what happened to Derek. After the scandal, no reputable firm would touch him. The last I heard, he was working in customer service at a call center, his management material skills being put, To use de-escalating arguments about faulty Wi-Fi routers, it's a fitting end. He always was good on the phone. Under my leadership, Sterling Corp, rebranded as Chenlu Global, or CLG, is thriving. Our stock has hit record highs. The clients I brought back have renewed their contracts with record-breaking retainers. My reputation for ruthless efficiency and innovative strategy has made me a rising star in the business world. We've already acquired 2 smaller firms, expanding our empire into 3 new markets. I look at my desk. Next to the gleaming nameplate, there are 2 small framed photographs. One is of Victoria on the yacht, champagne flute in hand, the picture of carefree arrogance. The other is a screenshot of my termination email, the cold, corporate words that were meant to end me. James thought it was strange that I kept them. "Isn't it time to move on?" he'd asked. "It's not for revenge," I explained. "It's a reminder. A reminder that betrayal can be a catalyst, that hitting rock bottom gives you a solid foundation to build on. That sometimes the best comeback, the most profound and satisfying victory, isn't about shouting or screaming or fighting. Sometimes it's simply showing up as the boss." I take a sip of my coffee, the warm ceramic a comforting weight in my hands. The city sprawls out before me, a kingdom of glass and steel, glittering with promise. It's my city now, my company, my empire, and I'm just getting started.